This past couple of months, I have done a lot of air travel to attend my kids' sporting events and even an ag conference with my husband. I haven't flown this much since participating in college sports, and a lot has changed since that time. And I'm always learning new tips and tricks. Flying can be a stressful experience, especially if it's your first time. There are so many things to worry about. Will I get there early enough to get through security on time? Will my luggage make it on the plane and transfer to my final destination? Will I be squished between people I don't want to be squished with? What if there's a delay? Will I make my connecting flight? How far will I have to walk to get to my next flight? Will I have time? Deciding what to pack, long security lines, boarding the plane, finding your seat, and everything else you think about. It's very, very easy to get overwhelmed. Oh, and so much more overwhelming when you're traveling with your spouse and your kids. That just amplifies the stress in my mind. Because if you're like me, I'm the one that everyone turns to. I'm the one that is to know exactly when, where, and what time we need to be at the airport, where to go when we get there, when, and be prepared for any circumstance that comes up. Yep, I'm the scheduler, organizer, prepared for anything, the glue that holds everything together, wife and mom. Can you relate? Raise your hand, comment if that is you as well. So today I'm going to share with you 10 tips when flying. I know I can always learn something new. And some of these tips I've just recently learned from my kids who have traveled a lot during their time as athletes in college. So, whether it's your first time on a plane or you're a frequent flyer, maybe in today's 10 tips, you will find one that you haven't tried that will help make your next flying experience or any traveling experience a little less stressful and a little more enjoyable. So here they are. Number one, not in any particular order, actually kind of more like chronological. But anyways, number one, sign up for the airline frequent flyer program and download their app. All you need for the day of the flight is there in the app. Turn on the notifications to be reminded to check into your flight, to see and download your boarding pass, to get updates on your flight, especially if it's delayed or canceled, all from your phone. You carry it with you all the time anyways, so use it. So, for example, in one recent trip, we were flying out at 8 a.m. I'm sorry, we were flying out at a 6 a.m. flight. And at 11 p.m. the night before, I was notified via the app that our flight was delayed until 10:50 a.m. And that was really good to know. I definitely did not want to get my two kids up and to the airport at 4 a.m. just to realize that the flight was delayed so long, like 4 hours. No one needs to deal with you being tired and also two cranky kids or a spouse stuck in an airport for 5 hours longer than you need to be. So it have the app. But it was also very helpful to have the app in this situation because since our flight was delayed, we were going to miss our connecting flight. Usually, for me, that would be extremely stressful having to try to find another flight. But in this case, the airline rebooked our family on a later flight. And we were notified through the app that we were on this later flight. And I didn't have to do anything. They did it all for me. And by the way, that later flight ended up being overbooked by 4 seats. Maybe it was the 4 seats our family got since they rebooked us. Coincidence? Not sure. But some gracious volunteers accepted a voucher or gift card and they got on the next flight, leaving the following morning. So I really appreciate and thank those volunteers for giving up their seat in that flight so that our family could make it through the day. I did not want to get stranded at the airport overnight with my family. And also on the app, there's a quick link to the airport map so you can quickly see where you're at and where you need to go. Very simple. It's very helpful to know like how far you have to walk to get to your next gate. The second tip is pack smart. Always pack your essentials, your ID, your tickets, your phone, meds, anything in your carry-on, and avoid overpacking if at all possible. This should go without saying, but just pack light. Not only will it make it easier to navigate through the airport, but you'll also save money on checked baggage fees. So just pack light and double check your documents before leaving for the airport. Make sure that you have all the necessary documents, a passport, driver's license, and any visas or travel permits that you may need depending on, your status. And it's also good to make copies of these documents in case they get lost or stolen during your trip. Now, I wasn't for sure what I needed, so I did pack my kids a copy of my kids' birth certificates because I couldn't remember from the very last time we traveled with them whether I needed these or not. So I just made sure I had documentation of that they were our kids. And the third tip kind of goes along with this. Fly carry-on baggage if you can. So the worst part about a trip is losing your luggage or not having it at your final destination. And it can happen a lot with checked baggage. So this is the reason that I try to always fly carry-on if at all possible. So make sure that your carry-on meets the airline size and weight restrictions. If you happen to get rerouted or delayed, flying with a carry-on bag means that you're still going to have all your things with you when you arrive. The same thing goes for flying standby, which many people aren't aware of. But you can only fly standby if you have a carry-on bag. If you have checked a bag, you can't fly standby. Good point. And then a little extra tip for this is when booking flights, airlines try to get you to pay to check your bag. And some say they only allow just a small handbag or a book bag and not that and a carry-on. But don't get fooled. Don't pay to check your bag if it's a carry-on. If the plane is too small and they don't have room for your bag in the overhead compartment, they will do one of two things for free. They will check your bag plane side. So they'll check your carry-on at the end of the jetway. They will give you a little colored tag, you put it on your bag, and you leave it at the end of the jetway right before you get into the plane. And when you get off the plane, they're going to put it there and then you can take it with you. Or the other thing that they will do, they will check your bag to the final destination for free. Yes, they will tag your bag as if you paid to get it to your final destination. You will pick that bag up at baggage claim. And this happened to us recently. The plane was small. We were one of the last groups of people to get on the plane. They ran out of overhead bin space and they checked our bags. They didn't even really give us the option. They said, we got to check your bags. And they're going to be checked to the final destination. I had to like double and triple check this. Like, you are taking this and it's going to our final destination? Yes. And I'll pick it up at baggage claim? Yes. Like, this hasn't happened to me before. So I'm like double checking all of this. And thank goodness, like, that happened because our plane ended up being delayed and late leaving, which means when we were arriving in Chicago O'Hare, we only had about 10, 15 minutes before our flight was like boarding or ended up or leaving, one of the two. And if anyone has traveled through O'Hare, it's not necessarily very easy to get from one concourse to the next. So we ended up being one of those people who gets up right away on the plane and when it stops at the gate and rushes to the front of the plane to be one of the first ones off because I did not want to spend the night in O'Hare with my two kids and my spouse by missing our connection. So when we got off, we had to run about 10 minutes to our gate, but we made it in time. But I don't think we would have been able to if we had our carry-on luggage with us. To run through O'Hare with carry-on luggage for like 10 minutes, I don't think we would have made it. But our bags did make it. Since they were checked to our final destination, we not only made our flight, our bags made the flight, and we arrived at our final destination all intact. So there. Number four tip, dress comfortably. This should go just without being said, but for me, this is normal. Wear loose, comfortable clothes and layers to adjust to temperature changes because on the plane, it can be really hot or really cold and usually both and in the same flight oftentimes. So I'm all about comfort. So when I'm fly, I'm in my yoga pants, a t-shirt, and a comfy sweatshirt, similar to what I'm wearing today with slip-on shoes. So I don't have to sit there and feel rushed having to untie and tie my shoes. And women, okay, to get through security easier, wear bras with no metal clips or even sports bras with lots of decorative straps or kind of just stripes. Because I was surprised at this, but one of my daughters was flagged the last time going through security because her sports bra had like more straps or strings that went through. Even though there was no metal, it was flagged just because it was had those stripes and or straps. So just note, wear something that is not going to be flagged. Like get rid of all the metal before you even get dressed, I guess. So, and if it's colder weather, just bring a light jacket or your coat can double as a pillow during the flight. So if you get tired, that's just an extra little thing. Tip number five, stay hydrated. Bring a refillable water bottle. Airplane cabins are often dry, they can lead to dehydration. Drink water regularly and limit alcohol and caffeine, which can also dehydrate you further. And really, buying water at the airport or on the plane is expensive. Save yourself some money by bringing an empty reusable water bottle and filling it up once you get past security. But if you really like your water cold, here's a tip that I got from my daughter. Fill your water bottle with ice before leaving home, making sure that before you get to security, you drink any of the liquid that has melted since you put the ice in there. As long as the ice is frozen, it's okay. Thank you. My kids just like cold water and they're kind of finicky about different tastes of water in different towns. So this was very, very helpful. Tip number six, bring snacks. While most flights provide snacks, they may not always be up to your liking or sufficient, or they might not even be able to serve them. So bring your own snacks. Not only will you save money, you will be eating something that you normally eat and eating at times that you would normally eat. So pack healthy snacks like nuts, granola bars, or fruit. I'm trying to get my recommended 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight in. So airplane snacks don't really have that for me. They don't really have the protein, and I'm kind of not into eating a bunch of carbs. So when they serve pretzels, cookies, dark chocolate quinoa crisps or snack mixes, I'm not really into that. So I've been packing salads and Greek yogurt mixed with protein powder and sometimes with blueberries, depending on if it's vanilla protein powder or chocolate. But the key to getting the yogurt through security is to freeze it the night before. So as long as it's frozen, it will pass. Just as ice is okay because it's frozen. Why? I just learned this. You can't freeze explosives. There you go. Frozen is good. So thank you to the TSA agent for this tip when he was checking my bag of food. Another reason to pack your own food is because you never know. You never know if your plane is going to be delayed. You might be at the airport longer than you thought or in the plane longer than you thought. You never know. You might not have as much time between your connecting flight as anticipated to get a snack at the airport. You never know which gate you're going to be at and if there's decent food nearby or on the way to your next gate. And depending on the time you fly, depends on when those kind of airport convenience stores or restaurants are open. Sometimes I've been flying and they're closed and there is nothing open. Or if you're there going early, they're not even open yet. So gate and also gate arrivals and departures may change. So another good reason to have the airline app on your phone is you can get notified really right away if your gates change, and then you can also look on the app and see where the food stations are. And depending on the length of the flight, the weather, and the amount of turbulence or anticipated turbulence, there might not be any snack or beverage service on the flight. So plan ahead. Bring a water bottle and some snacks. Nobody likes somebody that's hangry. I don't like kids that are hangry. I don't like my spouse when they're hangry. So bring snacks. Tip number 7, bring entertainment. Bring something to do in the plane and in the airport, whether it's a book, an ebook, a favorite movie, podcast, or music that's downloaded on your phone or your electronic device. Make sure to bring entertainment. This will help the time go by faster, especially if you're traveling with your kids. A lot of planes have movies that you can watch on part of their in-flight entertainment system for free if they have that. If they have that. So make sure you bring headphones, like the old style stereo jack headphones, not the ones that go into your iPhone, because that's not going to work. Because sometimes you can plug it into their in-flight entertainment system. Sometimes they don't have them. Sometimes they'll pass out headphones if they have these in-flight entertainments with the stereo jacks, but oftentimes you're just going to have to ask for them and you're probably going to be charged for them. So if you're planning on watching or listening to something on your own phone or iPad or electronic device, make sure you charge your devices before you leave and charge them while you're in the airport. Not only will it save you from the hassle of searching for an outlet at the airport potentially, but also it'll ensure that you have enough battery life to last your entire trip. And do not bank on the plane having a charging outlet. Some planes do, some planes don't, and sometimes they don't even work. And so it's best to assume that you do not have that option. So pack your charger in your carry-on. Consider bringing a backup battery or portable charger. That was so helpful recently in one of those because my kids had drained my phone by watching movies during one flight, and later it was getting so low I was afraid that I wasn't going to have battery power to run the app to see, where our gate was and all of that information, and getting the navigation to our hotel once we did get to our final destination. So carry a portable charger, carry your charging cords with you. You will thank yourself later. And don't forget that if you have your laptop with you, your laptop can charge your phone as long as you have the cord to. And if you're flying internationally, do a little research and make sure that you bring a travel adapter that's compatible to the outlets of your destination country. There'd be nothing worse than getting to your destination with no means of charging your phone. Number 8, arrive early. We all know this. Arrive at least 2 hours before a domestic flight and 3 hours before an international flight so you can help avoid rushing and saving you some stress by allowing yourself time to get through security and check in. Nothing increases your stress more than thinking you're late, thinking you're running behind, or you're actually running behind, or you're worried about missing your flight. It might take just a little bit longer than expected to get through security, depending on the airport and the time of day that you travel, especially if you're not familiar with the airport. So getting to the airport a couple hours before boarding is most likely going to give you enough time to get checked in, go through security, and find the gate without being rushed. And so when you're at security, tip number 9, keep all your essentials handy. Keep your passport, your boarding pass, your ID, any other important documents easily accessible and being able to pull out and show security when you're there. So having that ready to go And especially if you're having and traveling with kids that have no ID, they need their boarding pass out and ready to go, whether it's on your phone or their phone or a paper copy. This is going to help get through security just a little bit faster and make sure you have no liquids. Pick the scanner that has the large bin size. So after you get through with your ID check, and you're going to put your bags through security, go through the line that has the biggest bins. Some airports still have the old style scanners with the smaller bins where you put your stuff in. And if you do end up in that line with smaller bins, you're going to have to take your liquids out. You're going to have to take your electronics out of your bag. So pick the scanner with the large bins. Everything goes in the bin, but but you don't have to take anything out of your bags. So nothing. You just put all your stuff in bins and take nothing out. Then make sure any of your loose items, like a sweatshirt, or like recently my daughter had a paper bag with food in it to eat, or souvenirs. Make sure those loose things are tucked under something a little bit heavier so it doesn't fall out when going through the scanner. And when you're done going through the scanner, make sure, please take a moment, take a breath. You have time. Before you leave security, make sure you have all of your things. Make sure you have your car keys, your phone, any electronics, your watch, your shoes. Yes, we were at an airport recently when over the intercom was this message. Please check your feet. If you're not wearing shoes, return to the security checkpoint to claim them. Like, who runs off without their shoes? Somebody in a hurry thinking that they're going to, miss their flight. You know, you're going to miss your flight by having to come back to security to get the things that you need, your personal items, before getting on the plane. So don't be too rushed to forget something that's really important. Take a moment, pause, make sure you have everything before you leave the security. And last but not least, tip number 10, be polite and patient. Flying can be stressful, but staying calm and respectful to fellow passengers, flight attendants, and those that you're traveling with, including your kids and your spouse, can make the experience more pleasant for everyone. Airports and planes can be so noisy. Bring noise canceling headphones or earplugs. This can help block out the engine sounds and the chatter of all the noise that are in the plane and in the airports, creating a little more peaceful experience while just waiting and while flying. I don't know about you, but if I'm exposed to a high level of noise for long periods of time, this increases my stress level and decreases my tolerance. Yeah, I'll get impatient because my noise level has been elevated, which increases my stress. So being able to reduce the amount of noise exposure is a must for increased patience and politeness. So you can use your noise canceling headphones even when your kids are watching a movie on your phone with a different set of headphones. Just make sure that you set the movie to play with the headphones that they are using so that you can sit back, relax, and enjoy reduced noise for yourself, even when there's seats away. So keep a sense of humor and lightheartedness. You don't know how long the flight attendants have been on duty, the type of people that they've had to deal with that day, how early they've gotten up to serve you, how late they've been up to serve numerous passengers over the day. And this goes for fellow passengers as well. Be polite, smile, use your manners, say please and thank you, create some light conversation, compliment them on their service, appreciate what they've done for you to have a pleasant flight. The same goes for dealing with your own spouse and kids if you're traveling with them. On a recent flight, I noticed a family in the airport at our gate. In my opinion, the dad had already had a rough day dealing with his probably 7 or 8-year-old daughter. The girl seemed demanding, and the dad had lost his patience before even getting on the plane. I overheard him say numerous times, very loudly, "If you don't stop, I'm going to spank you." I knew this wasn't going to be a pleasant flight if this continued on the plane. And I was really praying that I would not have to sit by them. And lucky for me, I didn't. But since our family was spread out on the plane and because they couldn't get our seats together, my son and daughter were not so lucky. The dad and the girl sat right behind them. My son voiced his annoyance when we landed and got off the plane as the girl didn't want to sit in the middle seat. So she was having a fit about sitting in the middle seat and kicked the back seat of my son's chair the entire flight. I feel so fortunate that I didn't have to deal with that, but also feel fortunate that my kids did not complain or retaliate during the flight. They just vented once they got off the plane. So, to make flying and your travel experience more pleasant and bearable, be nice, courteous, polite, and gather as much patience as you can. Assume everyone is having a bad day, and it's your job to make them feel just a little bit better, at least not to make it any worse. So those are my 10 tips for flying, and which actually can be applied to any types of travel, whether you're traveling in your car, maybe a bus or a train. Any kind of travel can be a stressful experience. But with these tips, I hope that you have found at least one that you can try the next time you venture out to make it just a little smoother or at least a little less stressful for you and your family.